it's one thing to kind of like not realize there was an update to just basically being told about an update, and then I check on
Sure.
my phone. Of course, the X100 Pro does actually, in fact, have an
It's
update
kind of the
that got
biggest
pushed
story
out.
of the entire week. I
I think
mean,
so. I
so
think
hold on. I do want to put out there.
you want to put it
I don't
out.
know if
Okay.
folks know this, but because I run a phone museum,
Ah,
I have finally been able to recover and reset my Lumia 920.
you found the Lumia. Okay, okay. Is
So
it does it
this
boot?
was lost.
Okay.
It's booting. This
Uh-huh.
has not been charged in years.
Almost like, I mean, like my first Nexus,
Years.
the Nexus one I have, I charge once every 2 years.
So I'm going through and I'm doing like I tomorrow I'm gonna have a review out on another little portable battery. We talked about it, the All Powers, and they
Yeah,
sent
yeah,
the
yeah,
solar
yeah, yeah.
kit.
Mhm.
But basically I've just got it plugged in and under my bookshelf as I'm going phone by phone to make sure like I'm topping off all these old batteries because that's scary. But I finally found this guy, Lumia 920. I might do like
A
a
revisit.
retro
Yeah, a
review
retro
just to
review.
revisit. Yeah,
But
you
look
know?
how tiny that thing is, though. Like you're
It's
holding it in
so
your hand,
petite.
right? Yes,
So
that's
yeah,
what I'm
well,
saying.
I mean, first of all, let's be clear. As a guy who's of just average height, I have ridiculously tiny hands. All right, I've
Oh
got
my
little hobbit hands and stumpy thumbs. But I
dude,
do want to hold this up next to here's the OnePlus 12. The OnePlus 12 is a pretty big boy,
it
and
absolutely is. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's
But no. What I'm trying to say is, though,
the
at the
vertical.
time when the Lumia first came out, though, we were considering those devices large
Oh, this was
devices.
enormous. Yeah,
Yes. Like I
it's so
cannot
funny.
believe. Like seriously, hold on. So since you're doing size comparison there, hold on. Let me see. Do I have access to my?
Just hey everybody, welcome to a podcast where two old guys dig up tech from like a decade ago.
Okay. So now that we're talking devices, so okay, I'm gonna hold
Oh, I
the
love
Nexus. Hold
it.
on. Can we get
Oh, it's
Sony?
so
Sony loves it.
cute.
Okay, so you get the Nexus,
It's
and this is
adorable.
where is the Nexus? Like it's
So
not even.
it's smaller than the magnetic latch-on wallet that
Yeah,
I have on my
like
Pixel 8
this
Pro.
this
I
used
love
this
it.
was this is Google's first
Oh,
foray into a slab. This is their first
yeah.
glowing rectangle. I mean, actually, technically, the G1 was a collaboration, but that wasn't really, that wasn't theirs. The Nexus
I
was
was
theirs.
I was
Yeah.
feeling all nostalgic, and someone was complaining about phone design, and I just started taking pictures of like old Honors, and like pulled out the iPhone SE, which is basically just a spruced up iPhone 5, and like,
Yeah.
man,
No
there was
juice.
something magical
I was
about
hoping
like,
there'd be some juice on it left,
oh
but no.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta
Well,
put
and
that.
I've been getting really anxious. Like, there are some of these things I think I need to really just get rid of because I don't know that I can recover
I,
them.
I
But
I haven't gone to that place that you told me about yet. I keep forgetting to ask you
oh
for like
yeah,
the update
we're gonna
location.
be
I'm gonna have a
packing our
yeah.
trunk and dumping a whole bunch of stuff at that
I
hazardous
I think
materials drop.
it's really
It's
I'm way due
time.
for that. Yeah, yeah. The museum needs
Yeah,
to shrink down a little bit. We keep
a little
adding
bit.
things. But I love the
Well,
shirt, man. What's up with the shirt?
oh thanks. No, this is my old one. So like when I did the Snapdragon Sound
Yeah.
interview
Hmm.
back in the day,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm sporting this right now, which is funny because I'm about to praise a Dimensity 9300 a whole bunch
Haha.
when we get to a particular phone in our collection. But
Yep.
folks, welcome to the show. We've got so many phones to talk about. And TK, you were out on location
Yes.
for the new era. This is the new era of mobile AI. We have never seen AI before. Now that Samsung has invented mobile AI,
I I'm
that's what we're in store for
I'm gonna
tonight.
sound okay. So there is part of me that at some point we're gonna be when we talk about some of these things, it is gonna sound like a fanboy, and it is not because of purely the way Samsung and Google are doing it here. This is purely Google, by the way. Everything that we're gonna talk about AI and everything like that,
Google,
it's Google, but
Google,
I
it's
have a
Google.
no, it is, but I have a little bit of a beef in the way this is being done. And we're going to dive into that a little bit because some of the things that we're looking at, and we even had Google sitting on stage telling us about them as if they were, Samsung only. There's some talks about that. A lot of these features we're looking at are going to be available on Android devices in the next very
Yeah.
near future,
Oh, you
all
don't even
around.
have to get the behind the scenes. I mean, like, I don't know how much time I would prefer to
Okay.
spend more time talking about the phone than dissecting what I feel was one of the lower energy Samsung presentations. Like, I
Mhm.
don't want to grade the phone on how the executives went out
No,
there
no, yeah,
and how Google went out
absolutely.
there, but I do want to point out
Mhm.
that the Google people leading the biggest AI presentations were tripping over themselves to say coming to your Android smartphone, not exclusive feature on the S24.
It was
All of this
you
seems
could
like it's going to
sense.
be accessible over the next couple of years.
Yeah,
So,
and I think the biggest thing I'll probably say is, okay, and we'll get into that. But yes, the device, the updates, the new material, the colors that they had. I mean, I'm not going to deny the fact that I am thankful for the Samsung for allowing me to be part of that. I was able to,
yeah.
fly up to San Jose, check it out, spend a couple of days
Yeah,
there.
they let you go hands on with the device. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
feel
that's
like
how I was able
that
to make,
was
day one,
hmm
coverage,
yeah.
and why all I'm doing right now is obviously trying to just live with the device to kind of get that experience. I will say this much though, for announcements being made on a device, it is a little bit refreshing for me that all of the features they announced were on the device the day it was announced and the day it's available. There is
That's cool.
no, coming later this winter or coming later this
Well,
spring.
they were talking about some of, I can't remember what feature in the keynote they said
Mhm,
was going to be coming later, but again, I feel like it's one of the things I can point to Samsung where they genuinely
mhm.
do this better than Apple, where Apple gets months of positive buzz on a new phone release, but the full experience of the phone doesn't really arrive for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah,
And
and
then
reviews
you
are
have to
made
wait for those
on a device
updates.
that has none of those features, and then you're
With all of the
basically,
promise of, oh, and then when we
yeah.
get this editing tool or when we get this cinematic blur, it's gonna be amazing. And I feel like for as much as it's bilious and acidic in my mouth to say nice things about Samsung, I will credit that they tend to be better at that kind of feature presentation
Yeah.
than many other players. Like OnePlus will send us a device in a very unfinished state,
Yeah.
but
No,
we know they do that. And it
absolutely. It's a
pisses
consistent.
me off
I
when reviewers stop at embargo.
Yeah.
But Samsung does better in like, this is really more of what the polished consumer experience is going to be
Mhm.
when they let you go hands on.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest thing for me when I was at, because it was the day before, right? So
Yeah.
the device is not even announced. It's not available for the public to pick up till the end of the month, anyways. And every single feature that they showed us was demonstrated and it was working. But the
Yeah.
biggest thing that I loved about that part, again, I'm trying to focus more on the experience that we're looking into this,
Sure.
because a lot of these features that
Yeah.
we're talking about, AI, I don't know why I did air quotes, but the AI functions that they're adding in here are coming.
I'm rubbing off on you.
It's just
You
no,
the
no, no,
AI.
no, no, no. Okay, no. Look, some of
I'm
the,
sorry.
I think there is an overuse of the term AI in the industry, and
Yes,
we plaster
completely.
AI on everything. Automation
Yeah.
is not AI, and I think that is
Mm-mm.
just me being like, dude, we've been automating forever. Why couldn't we just plaster AI back like 6 years ago? No, no. There are some genuinely. There are certain things genuinely there that are. And I'm not trying to take a dig at Google at this, but I don't understand why Samsung's able to do Google stuff on their devices better than Google can do it on their own devices. And that's what's getting me right now. Because the features that
Oh,
we saw are
I feel
Google
this is
features.
completely fair.
Like seriously, like
Absolutely.
the generative AI function that we have in the gallery app on the S24. That was a feature that Google told us about, that we waited how long to get. Even if when we got it,
Mm-hmm.
we cannot generative fill in Pixel 8 Pro. We can
No.
do stylized, but we can't generative fill yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's been demoed everywhere. The circle to search, I think, is going to come to more devices on the market. That's not even going to be super.
Michal is saying it should be in our next feature drop.
Yeah, and I
So
think
it should line up with shipping the Galaxy S24s. Yeah.
and I think for the most part, that was the most functional feature. Like I showed this to my wife, and she was
Yeah.
like, "Wow." That was a wow moment because it was implemented in such a unique way that I kid you not. Like I'm trying to basically give props for the implementation. Google did an
Right.
amazing job. Samsung got to be able to pitch it first, but the reality is, this is a feature that will be used everywhere.
Yeah.
Making Google Lens functional as an overlay anywhere you are in the UI by pressing the home button is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, like, it's literally the beautiful thing about it. Like when I saw that, I was like, crap, that thing works.
Oh yeah.
It was, and
Well,
it works beautifully. So like,
and
especially for
I
people that
love
go on Instagram. Yeah.
I love seeing the demonstration on it first with a phone with a stylus.
Yes.
Not that it's required for
No.
that, but
Absolutely. But
my stumpy fat fingers blocking
no.
parts
So
of what I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to take
So
a screen
the thing
a
about it is, you
screenshot
actually
of.
have to circle. You could actually little scribble. You can do whatever you want.
I know, but
Yeah,
it's like
I know.
I was trying Vivo
Okay.
has an eraser tool and it's nowhere near as good as Magic Eraser, but when you're trying to like outline or move through something and
The
your finger is
precise.
blocking just enough,
Yeah.
you're off. Like
Well,
you just can't
even if just using Luma
select
Fusion
properly.
on a device like this,
Oh yeah,
the pen is just absolutely
for sure.
absolutely. Look, I pulled a video earlier today because I was looking up some of my. Apparently, there's still some articles that are on XDA's website that reference my video on Pocket now
Yeah.
from the Note 10 and the Note 10 Plus in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute, not all my videos are gone. So I guess there is proof I used to be part of
Or
XDA / Pocket now.
they just unlisted them.
Oh no, yeah, no, and absolutely. When you click the link, you see the video, and it says unlisted, so it's there. I just have no links to my original. But anyways, the event and everything happened obviously in San Jose. Slight difference from what we had in the past. San Francisco, a little bit south.
The correct coast.
Yeah, no,
Samsung picked the correct coast to launch a new phone.
We got the right coast, right time zone, no jet lag for you, bro. Right here, show
Right?
up. Everybody else was dealing with jet lag. I was like, it was
really
me
feel like
and
man,
Ricky.
all these people have
We're
just
the only
like...
two without any jet. Yeah, no. Me and Ricky are the only one who came up like
Ricky!
that
I
45-minute
love
drive.
it.
I saw
How's he
Joe
doing?
there.
Was he doing well?
He's doing good. He's doing good.
Okay, good.
They did this at CES last week. They hosted their own like media friends meeting with some of the with Newegg to try to bring up some influencer relations and so on. So he's
they've
doing
been working that pretty hard.
Yeah, and luckily this time he was also able to make it up here. So Ricky was there.
That's great.
Joe, I don't know if Joe Hickey's in the chat, but Joe made it as well. He came all the way from the UK.
Nice.
I saw him, but we never got a chance to meet. I'm like, oh, I kicked myself. It's crazy. He was sitting on the opposite side. Well, so I saw his posts. He's on the other side of the show floor. I was trying to get a picture of him, but the whole bunch of things were going on the stage. So I was like, I had to turn around. And then by the time everybody went down to the hands-on, it was just it was crazy. Like there was no way to know where anybody was.
Yeah.
So I had to go pick up my device, and then as you can imagine, I'm back home, so I had to fly back yesterday. I always make my travel are always absolutely very tight. Like I get in and get out at the earliest I can get in, and at the earliest I can leave. Because time is precious and time is money. So, I did my unboxing at the airport. I was like, put my Osmo 3 plot thing.
I mean, if it's not like a Vivo, a Xiaomi, an Oppo, your unboxing is pretty fast. There's not a lot to unbox. So
the unboxing was 36 seconds. I had to put extra footage in that one to make it close to 57
it's
seconds.
Like I shot my unboxing video in 4x slow motion, and it's still not a full-length short.
Yeah, man. That's one part I missed. I missed the experience of unboxings because they used to be a big part of what I do. I used to make unboxings and first impression videos all the time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. Now we actually I'll say this.
I used to do the box tossing. Ooh, so okay, you shared a photo of this phone, this S24 Ultra, and unfortunately, I feel like the white balance made it look a lot more gray. What you just held up there actually looks like a solid purple. It looks a lot better.
It depends on the lighting. It absolutely depends on lighting. If I took this outside and you looked at it with me and it was like, what? Like it literally, like, hold on, like, let me show you here. So let me.
Yeah, that looks better.
It is like, and you can definitely see
as soon as purple,
right, and it's brighter and brighter. But when I first held it at the show with all the bright lights in the room, it looked very faded. I even asked
almost all of the photos from the show actually make the device look very
it was hard.
pale.
Yeah, no.
I
So
feel like if Samsung could learn anything, I feel what was the last Samsung event I think I really covered in earnest might have been S10 era, maybe S9.
were you up
But
there? Were you up? Were you in San Francisco for the S10? I
I
think
did cover.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I was actually at Unpacked,
Okay.
but one of the things that's really been funny is like they do like a pre-brief or an early hands-on,
Hmm.
and it's often been in these like really nice hotel suites where it's lots of like wood and glass, and the lighting is cozier. And then you go to an Unpacked, and the lighting is terrible. The devices look awful from the main
It's a
show
weird.
floor.
Whoever designs the show floor lighting,
I
especially
don't
or
get it.
yeah, well, Honor, and again, nothing against Honor. I'm sure it's more about the venue thing, but for some reason, for quite a few events for the Honor, I've had issues with the fact that they always love using blue light. And I'm like, why would you make blue light? I mean, I understand
I
your phones are
know.
beautiful and colorful, but blue
Sure.
light? Like, and
Really?
so, and when we were over at Oppo's in Singapore, when I went over to Oppo's launch event, it was primarily a lot of dark lit areas with light very much
Yeah.
very strong beaming on the table. I'm like, okay, this is very hard for us to shoot. Like, this is not designed for us. It's designed to like a jewelry store, kind of almost like look at the centerpiece, look at the centerpiece. So for me,
Hmm.
I didn't really do much from there. The images I shared was literally of me after I went to the airport. I had basically about a couple hours or so I paid for a lounge access. I went inside, found a small corner in the lounge where it was still kind of quiet, not too many people, and there was a few people behind me, and they all like started looking at me. What is he setting up? And so I just set up a tripod, put it in, pointed it into a couple of vases and stuff. But
Hmm.
I felt like that would be, I should just put something else. And I'm still putting out more reels. Actually, it's weird of
Yeah.
the AI functions or the features that they put out. But to kind of put it in, all of the devices on the S24 Ultra now feature a familiar material. We went titanium on everything. So it's all of them are titanium first, so titanium silver, titanium gray,
Well,
titanium
for
yellow,
the
titanium
Ultra,
for the
we
Ultras
have had to
only.
correct people on. See, this is
Yeah,
the thing I don't like about Samsung is they
they're the
rope
line.
in you
Yeah.
awesome tech reviewers and get you all talking about Ultra, but that is a completely different phone than the aluminum
Hmm. Oh yeah,
that
they're
is
they're
on
stayed with
the
the
S24
aluminum
and
on the
S24
S24,
Plus.
24 Plus. The Plus this year did technically get a lot more functions than what we had last year. Like the Plus is closer to the Ultra now than it used to be to the
Okay.
standard. Um, but I will say that, okay, by far the one of my favorite features that I automatically thought of you the moment I saw that is I go into the Pro mode, because one of
Hmm.
the functions they were describing obviously is slow mo, right? Or super slow
Yeah.
mo, the ability of shooting slow motion video without actually shooting slow motion video. They're using
Sure.
AI interpolation to
Frame
try to
generation.
basically,
Yeah.
generate AI generated frames between to give you a pseudo slow mo. But in Pro mode, and again, only on the S24 Ultra, it has
Hmm.
4K, uno dos zero, mi amigo, 120
Ah.
built in into the camera in UHD resolution. That is like,
Finally.
okay, I like. I mean, obviously only in the
That's really
main and the
good.
ultra
That
wide.
that
Yeah, but
yeah, no, but I mean like that is a functional practical upgrade to a
absolutely.
feature that I
Oh my
think
god.
has just been a tacked on novelty for years now.
But it was
And
such a slow
it's
play
nice
thing.
to
Yeah.
see it is nice to see Samsung finally catch up to the Xperia 1 Mark II.
Yeah. It where OnePlus hasn't, we don't know obviously if they'll bring it back later, but at this point, OnePlus has moved away from the 4K 120, and I feel like they've been focusing
Yeah.
more on the core experience, like the 12 and the 12R. I mean, and we're going to talk obviously about the design
We'll
and
talk
everything like
save
that.
that
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I really want to get your thoughts out on S24 because
The
I've got a lot of critiques on the presentation, but I haven't spent any time actually holding the phone. So,
Yeah, no, and so I'm pretty sure they're going to be available. There's going to be like units and stuff like that at Best Buy or something like that. But the biggest thing I'll probably say overall is the simplicity of the AI functionalities that they added in there and the way they injected them into the system. They are somewhat not necessarily hidden, but like once you know the feature is in there, it becomes such an easy way to jump into it. One of them that I liked about him was the incorporation of, if you ever used Grammarly in the past, if anybody's ever in the chat that
mhm.
watches or uses Grammarly or an AI like Bard or any kind of chat GPT to help correct grammar or maybe compose certain things in there in a specific style. They brought some of those functions into the keyboard that, again, Google's been showcasing some these features on their own keyboard. The Gboard running on a Pixel is very different than Gboard running on most devices, especially with the AI autocorrection feature. If you've ever used it on Pixel 8 Pro, you compose a message before you send it. Google has a button in the bottom that says, fix it, like improve the writing, right? Grammar and all of that good stuff. They brought that in there. They made it into also writing styles, like writing into the different, like the tone of the conversation. There's casual, there's serious, there's emojis, there's socials. I'm like, there's a little funky things like that.
No, but that's cool. Is like they're different flavors, because I feel like AI fails if it's like, here is one canned response, and you're like, that's not how I talk.
Exactly. And if you're trying to talk to, let's say, to a kid, a teen, or something like that, where their language is emojis, so like, okay, this makes sense. Like,
it's like hieroglyphics. All right, cool.
It's exactly. We are going back to the hieroglyphics, my friend. We're just calling them emojis. Like the Egyptians got it right at the beginning. We just didn't catch on till now. But yeah, like little features like that, the AI cropping and generative fill, I feel like that again took it to the next level. Like Google brought it and they had it good. Samsung took it to the next level. They fixed it. You can do multiple functions at the same time, not just one step at a time. And object reissue or object mover works perfectly in the gallery. Yeah. Like again, simple things. Yeah.
Well, it works a little too well. I actually just got someone sharing on the Discord. Yeah. Some ladies man 217.
Hey,
he's a ladies man. Sharing a post of someone doing AI manipulation, and then there's a little watermark, so which we want to know that there's except for the fact that Samsung's own object erasing tools can get rid of the watermark.
Well, okay, so the watermark, by the way,
look at you, he was like, well, okay.
No. The first thing, okay, so when they first made that announcement, they talked about the watermark. The first thing that came to my mind, like, I could just crop through that, right?
Yes, you can just cut it out. Why? And they're saying like, oh, there's also going to be a note in the metadata. And
so that was but you can also erase the metadata as you're sharing.
But
it's one of the.
Haven't you noticed, like, one of the big privacy tools on so many of our phones now is erasing personally identifiable information out of your metadata, so it'll scrub all that out too.
So it is. I'll say this. Look, they're taking a step into trying to make it make people aware some of the things in there are obviously manipulated. If somebody decides to remove that data, which is absolutely very easy, that is a different step. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no 100% foolproof. There's no way to know exactly if something has been manipulated. And you're right. It is a little bit too good.
I disagree.
Please. Yeah.
Because I feel the camera manufacturers are trying to get ahead of this conversation, and really we won't see adoption on these tools until the smartphone manufacturers get on this too. But look up C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. I believe Sony is, they started this, Sony was one of the early participants back in like 2022. But over the last year, we've seen a number of camera manufacturers get on this content authenticity program. And so now,
Coalition of Content
so now this is a platform where newer cameras, newer standalone mirrorless cameras are increasingly adding information to your photo that if there is any kind of image manipulation or if there is any kind of AI editing, it is burned so deep into the file that you might not be able to scrub it out or get rid of it. And this is also triggering for other editing platforms. I believe Adobe is also one of like the founding members of this coalition.
Yes, they're the grandpappy of modification and editing.
Oh yeah, and actually their logo is right up there.
I was going to say,
it's Microsoft
Adobe,
and
BBC,
Sony and Intel.
Public.
So this is all great, but until this kind of content authenticity is matched on an iPhone, I really don't feel like it's going to be something that consumers trust. And I'm going to be shocked if we don't see over the next year some kind of court case where the
evidence is called into question.
that evidence gathered from a phone is
Mhm.
called into question because of all this AI and image manipulation, and you can't trust anything that comes from a phone because you can
I
just AI it.
I
I'll
don't
be
doubt it.
very
I don't.
surprised
Yeah.
if a lawyer doesn't make that an argument over
Yeah.
a court case in the next year.
You'd end up having to figure out. You'd end up needing multiple sources of the same site information just to kind of validate that
Yeah.
the information did really happen. But
But sorry,
it's a
that
crazy.
was that
No, no,
was
no,
a
no, no.
detour.
It is
But it's
absolutely
funny
point.
to me
It is to the point.
because
Yeah.
what you were saying is spot on though. I believe Google has been held back because of their partnership with Samsung Silicon. And now that we're showing off a Qualcomm Snapdragon
Dragon.
powered Galaxy S24 Ultra, that's where I feel like all of these grand promises of AI coming from Google and Tensor,
Hmm.
Google's getting lapped by Qualcomm and MediaTek right now
Oh,
because I
absolutely.
feel Samsung is holding them back.
Yeah, and
And so
this
we've
is a
seen a
weird
bunch of stories
relationship.
coming out
Yeah.
this week about,
Yeah.
man, Google is really going in hard on firms in Taiwan, looking at silicon, investing, potentially dropping stuff off at TSMC. They want to get out from under this current Exynos sort of a design philosophy. So I feel Pixel 8 Pro is probably going to limp into the AI market, even though they were showing off all of these
It was the whole
incredible
point.
tools.
Yeah, that was like 90% of what the presentation was. This is again, Google started us off with I'm not gonna say with the promise. We do have the functions that a lot of the functions that they promised us. The December update did bring in the visual the video
Video Boost.
video boost. Thank you. I was gonna say visualizer.
But I bet you we probably could have made a play for Video Boost on device
Mhm.
with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3.
I wouldn't be surprised, and quite a few of the functions that we saw that Samsung's running can be run on device. There's a few that
Yeah.
require like online access, like the circle to search. Obviously, can't be on device. It's a
It's searching,
Google
right?
Lens. Yeah, it's an online search, and then the generative fill functional options that we have in there as well. But there is a specific setting within Samsung's settings tab that says restrict the device to only run AI functions on device. It will
I
disable
like that.
the other one.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be like if you're traveling and you don't want to have it to keep kind of whatever, literally limit it and it'll turn off circle to search. Obviously that doesn't work obviously there. You could do your own normal, lens image or whatever. But what I want to say is like, okay, it's been years where I've seen a lot of functions, a lot of features, and a lot of things have been added to smartphones to make them amazing. But there's a lot of those things typically will fall to the side, like space zoom. Okay, we get it. We can zoom into the moon. We got it. And this time they were very open about talking about, using AI, filling in the specifics and the presentation the way
It's
there
still
was.
fake.
Oh no,
I feel
absolutely. There
like
was not.
I
They are using AI the way they
right.
and I'm hoping this was not off the record because I don't remember if they said yes or no. But the way it was presented, the way it was pitched, essentially was what we're trying to do is capture the moment and the way you felt looking at the image. Although the image may not have been that
No.
clear, the way you saw it is
I,
it's in
I
that similar shape.
fundamentally disagree with that, which is what's going to call into question the veracity of smartphone images in a legal sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And I believe is also going to call into question the artistic authenticity of these images when they are so easily manipulated. If you want to give me the feels, come up with a feels mode,
Yep.
but don't make the core fundamental camera architecture and functionality just a bunch of AI tricks, which have nothing to do with how that moment really looked
Oh yeah, no. And again,
in reality and
they've
truth.
stepped away
I'm
from
coming at
that.
this like kind of documentary filmmaker. Like
I'm with you.
I'm gonna, let's stage a bunch of poor people who are hungry as opposed to go and shoot. I mean, there are poor people who are hungry. It doesn't matter if they're real poor hungry people, it's the same. So from a documentary perspective, why do you need to do the work of going to a place and shooting real people when you can just stage it? And so, like, to me, that's one of the issues I've got with Samsung's strategy is on Vivo, I can do fake moon. It looks
Oh, we could,
fake
yeah,
moon. It looks great,
exactly.
but it's a
Xiaomi does fake
separate
moon as well.
mode that pop-ups and says, oh, by the way, you're about to do supermoon, and here's your before image and here's your after image. It's the F fake.
But I think we all have taken enough images of the moon. We know how well and how many craters are there. But the other functions that we saw in there, the ability of basically, like I said, the summarization function, the translation, the one
Yeah.
that got me the most. I made a call and I was speaking with the gentleman. I think that the phone call was with the Spanish speaker, and then I did a live translation. But live translations, we've seen it many times before. The phone call, although there was a little bit delay, it was on device translation done. And the call starts off by an AI message coming up saying, "This call is being monitored, assisted by AI translation. Both parties will receive a delayed in response as the AI is translating the conversation to the other person." Obviously, this is assuming the other person doesn't speak any English and I don't speak any Spanish. It worked so well
Nice.
that it was like, how is this not a thing? And how is this not real? How does this not have been a thing? We've had translation before. Why is this not incorporated? Like, it is so simple. And
Well,
again, those are the
that's
features.
that's the thing that we techies really need to be careful with, because when you make something that does work that well that it seems easy, I mean, like, the
Oh,
idea of doing real-time audio translation on something like that has to be an incredible challenge. So it's just really exciting to see that even in a pre-release state, like, this is
yeah,
still a phone that is not available to consumers, but they're letting you do that
exactly.
kind of work on it, that the functionality is there. And
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where even if it's not completely on device, you're already engaged with network connectivity anyway. It's not like I can take a phone call completely in airplane mode, so it doesn't matter if it functions completely on device. We just want to make sure that, like, there's some accounting or some security policy that says, like, hey, as this information is passed between these two people, just like we expect now messaging to be end-to-end encrypted,
hmm
I feel like that'll be a fair question to ask later. But right
hmm
now, just proving that it works, and it works as well as it does, is a very exciting step to that
yeah,
Star Trek future of having the universal translator ready at a moment's notice.
exactly. And you just have it basically implanted. It's like, turn on you don't even have to turn it on. It automatically
Yeah.
recognizes the other language and automatically translates. So to me, it was more like, I felt like they were introducing features and functions that were usable, that spoke to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
things that I can see myself using. Like, example, like when I was in Korea, when I was in Hong Kong, in places I don't speak the native language. Okay, I'm not going to deny the fact that I'd love to say that I speak them. I understand partially in Cantonese, but I don't have any way of communicating where I need to go. Like, Spanish, I can do well. German, very
Hmm.
little bit. French, very good. But
Sure.
again, it is a feature that I can see myself using when I'm traveling. When we call local restaurants in Korea, that was number one problem. Korea
Hmm.
is there's a lot of people that speak English, but there's also a lot of small shops that do not.
Yeah.
And it is just basically like, okay, you don't speak our language, you literally have to point and hand money, kind of a situation. But long
Right.
story short, I was impressed with some of those functions, and again, knowing that a lot of these functionalities, I'm not sure obviously about the phone translator function, but that I can see Google building that into the dialer.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of those are going to be coming over. We're going to be able to enjoy them on other devices. The S23 series of devices will get it before the summer, like they said, the first
Yeah.
half of this year. So it is not unique to the A Gen 3, although I feel like the A Gen 3 may be able to, like, carry it better. We'll have to see how it runs on the A Gen 2.
Yeah. I again, I feel like what should be a standards bearer
Hmm.
for Google's AI prowess. We were actually just talking about this over on Ike's live stream before we
Okay.
went live, and lots of people upset that, here I've got my Pixel Fold. The
Hmm.
Pixel Fold is an almost $2,000 folding
1,800
mini
bucks,
tablet.
17. Yeah, yeah.
It's a pretty pricey boy, and it's going to be limping into the AI conversation over 2024 and 2025 because Google decided that
Agentic
Samsung would
Tensor.
be the way to go for Tensor and Tensor 2. And it hurts because even Pixel 8 Pro, I feel, is going to be a bit behind the curve against Dimensity and Snapdragon, but you can get 2 Pixel 8 Pros for the price of a Pixel Fold, and the Pixel Fold is the current sold foldable. This puts Google in a really awkward position, and I want to feel for them, but Google made their bed. Even Samsung is not using Samsung chips. And Google was like, but we can get them real cheap. And you're like, well, there's a reason why you're getting them real cheap.
I felt like the years that we've been working with, where we're seeing Google, collaborate and work, we're down to the line now where Samsung's able to take Google's features and make it better. So
yeah,
so it's
because whatever local processing assist you need is gonna be a much better performance per watt, power efficiency, and even now the neural cores. One of the things that Google was actually really good at stepping away from Qualcomm and MediaTek have caught up with a vengeance and now lapped what Samsung was able to help Google make back with Tensor and Tensor 2.
Tensor was a good move. Tensor 2 was definitely a better improvement and more efficiency was done. Tensor 3 is just that now, like, okay.
Well, Tensor 3, so Tensor 2 is actually, I feel, the one that, I'm sorry, we're relitigating the past on Google. We should be talking about Samsung. Yep. But Tensor 2 was the GPU bump.
Yeah.
Tensor 2 didn't really do much on the CPU or neural side, and now Tensor 3 is a much more traditional core configuration, while Qualcomm and MediaTek are doing very unconventional CPU core configurations now. I think your assessment is actually kind of spot on. Google has made Samsung a preferred partner, has given them all the early access and the support. The Wear OS love is really being poured on Samsung. They're really tight and integrated. But Samsung choosing to use Qualcomm hardware has given them an even bigger advantage, even over the parent company that's actually making all of this software happen.
It's a story. It's a story that can only be pulled out of movies because of the way it's complex and the way it's going around. But you're right. Yeah, it's almost like Samsung's going to turn out, or is gunning to be, the de facto Android experience, where Google is, because Google for the longest time was trying to carve that out. They were trying to be unique. They brought out Material U. They rebranded to Pixel.
And we could make that argument that there are Google specific software features that you can't get anywhere else.
That list is very limited, though.
That list is shrinking. It
used to be. So this is the thing. Up till yesterday, when I got my hands on the S24 Ultra, what's it called? Voice recorder with what's it called? With subject recognition and transcription.
Yeah,
it was only on Pixel. But then Samsung comes in and says, "Hold my beer." Subject recognition, summarization, and translation are built into the same app.
So I don't believe though that the full. Transcription and summarization is on device though.
No,
I might have that.
Not everything is on device, but the fact that even with the things that Google was able to do on device, which is that was specifically how they pitched it. The recorder speaker recognition and categorization and transcription, those are the built bread and butter of what the recorder used to be able to do, minus the subject recognition. We got that with the update. It works, and it works beautifully well. We did it and we tested it. What I'm saying though is I think Samsung not only brought that feature over, and then they used the fact that they were doing basically, because once you transcribe it, it becomes text, right? So that function is basically no different than taking a note from the Notes app and summarizing it and creating different functions out of it. So they just translated that feature from one app to the other, making Recorder now, for me, a much better functional option there.
A more useful tool.
Because it not only does it record our entire conversation, it's going to give me bullet points at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
but that's actually the thing that is a concern on S24 though.
Yeah.
Is if that is server side. That it might be server side because Samsung is not putting more RAM into their devices. And if you really want a language learning model to analyze text, come up with relevant categories for that text and bullet point out what different people have said and delineate that information, you need to unpack a lot of comparative analytical data for that LLM to sift through all the information of a longer piece of audio and to present that. And so that again is like, if we get the recorder app generally put out to Android and you've got OnePluses with 16 and 24 gigs of RAM, we might see that turning point late next year where those devices are able to do this kind of analysis, maybe a little slower, but you don't need to depend on a data connection to have that final output delivered. This is the critical point. We've got a question here from Ghost Starscream. Is it too far-fetched to think that Google and Samsung will merge to be one company sooner or later because of their relationship? I don't believe that's possible. Google being a $1 trillion market cap company and Samsung being the backbone of the South Korean economy, I don't see how that could ever happen. But right now,
Yeah.
I don't believe that their current relationship is always mutually beneficial.
No,
I think that's true of most major corporations, that one side kind of gets it better than the other.
Yeah.
But right now, we're swinging wildly back and forth between this feature looks really cool, but it's really not going to be the feature that other phones get to benefit from. And Google is coming out with all of this amazing software, and their own products are the devices that are running it kind of the worst. Right now, it's such a head trip to see like how this ball keeps getting kind of back and forth. And right now, I kind of feel like Google's getting it worse. I think Samsung is definitely making out ahead.
They're getting the slightly short end on that one. So they're
pulling the wishbone, and Samsung got the bigger piece of the wishbone.
I just put the phone on airplane mode and I turned off Wi-Fi. I want to see if transcription actually runs on device, because this was when I recorded yesterday my unboxing. Sure. I did it at the airport, so it was all in English.
I feel like the transcription plugin should be like the Pixel, which runs on device.
So, so that is on device. Sorry, you can see it right there. Speaker one, although it's still speaker one. No, but what I wanted to do though is I wanted to get
now see if it can summarize.
Okay, I want to translate to Spanish. Translation to Spanish is on device.
That's cool.
Let's see. Can I? Okay, let me see where is the summarization function? Nope, that's like adding a tag. Summary. Okay. Summary does require internet. You're right. Summarizing does require internet. Translation does not. But the moment I feel,
this is completely feel, and I'm using the word feel specifically, but I feel this is going to be one of the pain points for phones in 2024.
Internet
if we really want this language learning model, neural summarization, it's not AI, it's just chewing up language that a piece of software has access to. One of the things that's going to hold us back is system resources. And Android is getting kind of bloated. Apps are getting kind of bloated. We need a lot more RAM just to do daily stuff. You need a lot more RAM.
So some of those things
have this kind of
how will they work
feature
on the S8? On the S24 and the S24 Plus that do start at 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah,
where the Ultra no longer has an 8 gig option. But the other ones get the same features, but they get less resources to run it on. So
this is why Galaxy AI is really just a big play on putting a fresh wrapper on Google Gemini, and that at the end of 2025,
they said it at the event. It was based on Google Gemini on device model.
And at the end of 2025, it's going to be a subscription service because it's so heavily invested in cloud. I think we're going to see a bunch of phones launched in 2024 that don't have quite as much flash to them. But if other app developers start really utilizing the additional RAM, the neural cores, the on-device processing, and these monster GPUs that are in these devices, you could start coming up with apps that are less subscription-based but are run solely on device to accomplish a lot of the same things that you have to go to a server with Samsung and Google to do because of the limitations of this hardware. It's just you're buying on the potential that AI really does take off. But I could totally see Copilot, Microsoft saying, hey, if you meet these system specs, there's a bit more you could do before you need to turn to an internet connection to get the results for what we're trying to accomplish here. I don't see that being too far off if someone has a subscription to Office, getting some of those,
getting Copilot,
yeah, note summarization, transcription kinds of
we
features.
we heard Microsoft's ambition to try to use AI on their laptops when we went and visited them with the
I
laptop Go
know,
2. Remember, they
right?
were talking about
Oh,
image generation models
so
and all.
funny.
This was like a couple of years ago. It's yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see. I'll say this. It is if you've ever used ChatGPT, if you've ever used Bard, if you've ever used any of those online AI tools to summarize or to compose an email or something. Like the crazy part that I really like, I don't like writing very long emails, but I know generally what I want to do. And I throw a couple of little prompts into Bard, and I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
write me an email. I want to say this, and then it comes back in a fully structured, amazingly written, blah blah, and
Mm-hmm.
like all of that stuff. Yeah, I can understand why people pay money to use ChatGPT for.
For
Why
sure.
there are so many more functional options on the market now. And it is at some point we may be basically buying just shells of devices that
Yeah.
run online and connected functions.
Or
And
I'll be curious to see, like we should I want to ask you a couple things specifically about the phone, but
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking
you can.
at the Vivo, the X100,
Mhm.
and there's not a ton of in your face AI on that phone. But I could totally see a future where Vivo and Xiaomi
Mhm.
come up with their own note app and they say, well, hey, we put 16, 20, 24 gigs of RAM in our phones. We
Mhm.
can write our own note transcription app. You don't have to use Google's because, especially in those markets, you probably aren't relying on a bunch of Google
No, yeah,
services.
yeah. A lot of
And
these
then
functions, yeah.
it's just a perk of buying the phone. So why would you pay for a subscription to send your audio up to a server if buying a Xiaomi gets you a very similar style of language processing on device, and then it was just included in the price of the phone? Is like that to me is going to be the big fight,
It will
especially
be.
getting into 2025, not necessarily this
Oh
year
no,
in
no, absolutely.
2024.
And
Yeah.
with the main thing keeping in mind is both Vivo, Honor, Xiaomi, all the Chinese manufacturers, they release in China first. A lot of these services that we're talking about are Google-based services, right? They won't work in
Hmm.
China. So even
Yeah.
Samsung, when they sell the S24 Ultra,
Yeah.
it is not going to be the
No.
100% same experience. It will
Nerp.
be basically as if you turned on that toggle on the phone says run all my models on device, and those are the only
Yeah.
things that'll run. Anything outside of that won't. So you're right. They are going to have to figure out some other ways for the other manufacturers. I don't think Samsung's going to try to find or
Nah.
develop something specifically for Asia, or not Asia, for China, because I don't think that's they're the biggest seller there. Those are still dominated by the
Oh,
the whole
Samsung's
Vivo.
sales numbers are almost non-existent
Oh no, I
right
know,
now
but I
in
meant to say is
China.
like
So
they exist, but they're not a. It's not a big of a
not
market for
really.
them. But to kind of
No.
circle back, bring back things
Yeah.
as opposed to.
But I do want to kind of I want to wrap again because I'm really snarky about how much I dislike Samsung as a company.
Okay.
My feeling
Hmm.
and watching other people react,
Yeah.
the presentation of this phone was woefully apathetic.
Hmm.
There was very little discussion about the phone, where year over year, this feels hyper iterative from the S22 to the S23
The
to the
design is practically the
S24.
same. Yeah. If you look at them on the back, you can hardly be able to tell which one is which.
Yeah. So now that you're holding it,
Hmm.
yes, we have a flat screen. I'm
Yeah.
actually really excited because I feel a phone with a stylus,
Hmm.
you don't
Sure.
like having curved edges when you're kind of getting to the edges of your screen.
No, I'm with you.
And I'm glad that Samsung finally figured out all of the things that we've been saying about having a better telephoto sensor. Now, I've been in so many knockdown, drag out arguments with Samsung Knights about how it's better to have more reach than a larger sensor with better photo IQ. And I guess now they're all going to change their minds. And now that Samsung's done what Pixel and Vivo and Xiaomi and Oppo have been doing for years now, oh, now that Samsung's done it, well, they did it the best. And I'm sure that's going to be how Knights are going to Knight. You're holding the phone, you're using the phone.
Yeah.
Are my feelings way off? Is this hardware kind of the same? Are
I
folks going to pick this up and go, oh, this is a thing about this phone that I know I'm going to use, and that's different than the S22 I had before?
So there'll be a couple of hardware features that I probably will say, and I'm going to say processor aside, that's a generational thing. We know the processor is more powerful, Gen 3 over Gen 2. There's no conversation. We know. And we also know AI and all of that good stuff. A couple of features that they bring in that I don't think they even, and I wish they would have highlighted, other than the camera, obviously, is the camera is one. The fact that they're going up to a 50 megapixel makes perfect sense. You do want that better.
Yeah, the telephoto.
You need the hardware. You need the hardware to be able to support the lens. The lens can only do so much if you're pumping a 10 megapixel camera behind it and just trying to call it the way it is. The reality is images all the way up to that 5x are crystal clear. They're optical. They're beautiful. Yes, there is a substantial improvement in image processing, in image representation, not processing. It is optical, and you definitely see the difference. The other option that I don't think they're talking about, on top of the fact that the display is flat, it's also actually a brighter panel. You're able to actually hit higher brightness on when you're outdoor and using it. And even when you're playing the same content, because they had a demo in there, and it's in the video almost at the end part where I show both an S23 Ultra and an S24 Ultra, the panel is substantially brighter and more vivid. Yeah. Although I thought that the S23 Ultra was better, like as a great device. Having gone back to it, because I put back my SIM card, obviously I'm traveling to Samsung. I made sure that I was bringing in the best that they offered from before, just to do comparison. Those are the couple of things that will probably stand out the most. Holding the phone out of the box.
Do you feel, sorry, I just want to clarify, because every manufacturer is going brighter this year. Would you say that Samsung, as the market leader in smartphone displays, in displays in general?
But they're in the look at Samsung and devices, if you think about it realistically. But yeah,
sure, Would you say that they are doing for themselves better than what we've seen on some of these other spec devices that are outpacing what the S24 Ultra
in the global market
says it can do?
In the global market scheme of devices right now, I don't think that they're leading that conversation. They're in the same pack. They're definitely doing the same as everybody else is doing.
It's upper tier. I don't think anyone would argue with that.
We're above. We're at 2600.
I just don't feel Samsung smartphone is buying the best display they can from Samsung Display.
And that's the
I feel like that competition is really fierce right now.
It is, and that was what I was going to say. It's the fact that the fact that Qualcomm brought up the timeline, and everybody and their mom now is releasing the device. I mean, heck, we're in January, right? I mean, January is not even halfway. We're barely. What is today? Okay, we're barely crossing middle of January.
We just crossed halfway through January. Yeah.
And the S24 Ultras out, S24 series are out. They're going to be available to be people's hand in their hand before the end of the month. We've had so many devices launched already that are surpassing this, and it is basically and some of them are even using Samsung panels. This is the weird part of the conversation.
Yeah, BOE is making a big play right now too.
So it's a tough one to kind of say, like, okay, internationally they're on par, not necessarily leading the pack. Now, some may argue and also say, but I mean, how realistically do you need a 4,000 nit display? Kind of like that becomes a different conversation. But the reality is, visibility outdoors is important. Does the S23 Ultra do it? Yes. Does the S22 Ultra do it? Yes. Does the S21 Ultra do it? Yes. It's a question of, could they have done more? Absolutely. But I think in the US market, when you compare them to the other manufacturers in the market, they see themselves, because again, the way they're setting it, they are somewhat of the leading pack in display technology. Although when we start talking,
we're playing with OnePlus 12.
I was about to say, we are going to start shifting the
screen around.
You can't turn. No, we can turn it around. We just can't turn it on.
Yeah, we can't turn it on. You're right. Yeah. So I haven't turned mine off though. So
this device has a display.
I can't turn mine around because it's on.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So I'm going to leave.
I need to shut this guy off. I was like,
is that the 12? Do you have a different color on the 12R? I got black. Oh, you jerk. I'm so jealous. That blue is so pretty. It reminds me so much of the 7T. Oh, that is such a pretty phone. Oh, you're such a jerk.
No. Hey. I will say this.
If I hold up my 12R, you can't tell if it's a 12R or the 11. Oh, they look so close.
Well, I mean, but you did get the green one, though, right?
Yeah, I did get the green. I got the green 12.
The green, the marble. I
know. It's so pretty. I'm just gonna rub my face.
I was in Vegas when the 12R showed up. I didn't even see what the box is. I come back home, I open the box, and I'm like,
Sure.
Okay. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. Look, they're both going to be great devices, but again, at the end of the day, if you're putting them in a case, actually, I take that back. No,
Well, I got a
that's
clear bumper specifically
no.
because of the
I have been
12's
more and more
backplate.
fan
Yeah.
of clear cases now with all of these
Oh yeah.
devices coming out with these beautiful colors. So yes, both the 12R and the 12 are going to obviously outpace the S23 and S24 Ultra when it comes to brightness. Again, I think from a unique standpoint, I wouldn't necessarily call this out as the only reason to get is S24 Ultra. I think the S24 Ultra as a package has a lot to offer. The price did go up. That was another thing that
That's
we
a
saw.
biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in the 1300s now for the Ultra. What I will say is this: from their lineup of devices, this is their flagship for 2024. This is the best of as the best smartphone that they're going to launch, and they're going to carry this for the rest of the year till the next generation comes out. I think it offers the best experience and it offers everything that Samsung has been basically talking about, and I think it will perform the best. S24 Plus, S24, unfortunately they didn't have enough time to spend with them on.
They don't want anyone talking about S24,
Well, no,
S24
we had
Plus
access to the units,
because
the hands-on experience.
yeah,
Had all
but
three.
that's not what Samsung does. Look at their keynote.
You know, I
Their
know.
keynote literally showed us one slide discussing the different aluminum build frame on the S24 and S24 Plus. Nothing else was detailed as different until you got to the very end, and all they did was the one sheet where they showed you all the specs for the S24 and then the S24 Ultra. Because Samsung, I feel, depends on that consumer confusion.
Yeah.
Think about all the people you know in your circles of family and friends who only buy base model, right? So they don't understand that they bought the cheapest HP laptop they could and the cheapest MacBook that they could, and the MacBook was better. And you're like, yeah, because it cost 3 times more than the cheapest HP that you can buy.
Yeah. No.
But they want everyone out there talking about how great the S24 is when the reviewers are holding Ultras and average consumers are going in to ask for the good Galaxy and they're walking out with S24s. They'll never know that the S24 is a completely different phone. It has nothing to do with the Ultra, which is really a note. That entire philosophy to me is, again, I feel Samsung gets a little scummy with the way they market, where I feel like it's a totally reasonable device strategy. They should not be called the same thing. It's a marketing problem. You want to make these different devices, make them different devices, but don't give them the same name when they have nothing to do with each other.
It's the entire premise behind the word Galaxy, actually, if you think about it. Everything is a Galaxy. About a week ago,
I'm at least willing to give Samsung some credit that there is a letter in there. I can't fault Samsung if a consumer hears Galaxy S24 Ultra is amazing, and then they go to their carrier store and buy a Galaxy A because it's the cheapest. I can't put that on Samsung, but when you say Galaxy S,
you're assuming...
I'm upset because also I feel the S24 Plus and the iPhone 15 Plus are gonna get murked bad by the OnePlus 12 this year.
The 20. Okay, so here's where we get a little bit different on the S24 Plus on this year. A few of the demos that I was showing in my video were done on the S24 Plus. They were not done on the S24 because the S24 Plus also shares the same similar display tech. It's a bigger display. It's 100 milliampere shorter, but it also shares the 45-watt charging processor. Not necessarily the same camera tech, but from a horsepower...
Is it the same resolution screen?
It's from what I remember on the specs. Yes, it was a QHD resolution at 120 and
really?
Full HD Plus.
Okay, that's a little bit better because the pluses have been 1080p's these last several years.
Well, I am gonna be. I don't want to.
I mean, like the brightness would still be a nice upgrade, but
no, absolutely. I think that would have been
to see if that resolution actually pans out.
Let me see here. Mobile. I'm going to go straight to their system because I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna go Samsung.com.
That's exactly where I was trying to do
S24 Ultra.
Where's the comparison
S24 Plus. Learn more. Oh, you took me straight to the buy page. That's not what I
Oh,
wanted.
that's how they do. Okay, so here, okay. Let's look at it this way. S24 Ultra. When we're looking at batteries, they're basically again 5,000, 4,900 to 4,000 going from the Ultra down. On the internal
Sure.
storage,
Against the OnePlus 12 with a 5,400 milliamp
no,
hour battery.
absolutely. And when we go into storage and RAM, the Plus and the Ultra start at 12 gigs. They don't go to 8. Only this small one
That's
goes to
good.
8. That's the good one.
Against the OnePlus at 16.
At 16. Well, man, you know how it's stacked. They all obviously support 5G. And here, okay, we're finally at the display. Okay, so it is on both
It
the
is
Plus
Quad
and the
HD
Ultra,
Plus.
Quad HD. Yeah, so I read
Okay.
the spec correctly.
So that's
the Plus
good.
this year is not
That
what
actually
last year's Plus was.
is a bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, it's
All right.
not a bigger.
I'll give them that.
It's not a bigger 24. But you made me
Sure.
second guess myself. I'm like, wait, I read the chart. I remember reading it. I even said it in the video.
No. That's good because
Yeah.
like I feel like last year it was still 1080 and everyone was like, oh, but that's fine. Who even needs more than 1080? And now people will be like, oh, it's Quad HD. See, Samsung makes the best. But we've got AirVook wireless charging on a OnePlus 12 that is faster than the cabled charging on the S24 Plus. We've got 30% more RAM. I'll be shocked to see if the pricing is not undercutting Samsung by $100, and then there's a pre-order deal with OnePlus from the get-go.
So I'll say this. Once we find out that information, obviously...
We have a true high-performance mode. We have the notifications rocker so that you can change up the notifications on your OnePlus 12. And I'd still need to see some of the specs and stuff, but I'm pretty confident that the camera sensors are all going to be better on the OnePlus 12 than what's on the Galaxy S24 Plus. The primary advantage in terms of really turning your phone into a high-performance platform, like if you like DeX, you got to buy a Galaxy. You can't get away with just screen mirroring on the OnePlus 12. If you don't need a desktop mode, I can't think of anything that is distinctly better on the Galaxy S24 Plus where the OnePlus 12 isn't going to slap it around dollar for dollar.
I think, so I'll say this. I think the 12 right now on paper is going to give the S24 Plus and Ultra.
Not on paper, in my hand.
No,
right
I
now.
No, but till the reason why I'm saying this obviously is because there's a couple of things we haven't really spoken about the experience of using the 12 or the 12R. We haven't really been able to kind of dig in with the. I'm assuming
all we can do is confirm the specs that we already knew because the phone was out in China.
Absolutely. So on paper, from the way we're looking at it right now, and if the indication, I'll say this: after using the Find X7 Ultra, okay. That is a phone that's released, that's available. That I'm able to talk about. I am very excited to what the 12 and the 12R are going to do. Let's just put it there. Like I can nail that conversation in that aspect. And the reality of what we're seeing here is definitely an improved version on the Plus over last year. I feel like the Plus is going to hold its own this year a little bit more, but the Ultra is still going to be the Ultra. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. From a horsepower performance, I feel like it's going to be matched. The AI experience on the Ultra and the Plus are going to be similar. It's the standard one.
I think at launch, the AI experience is going to be more useful on the Galaxy because Samsung is so cozy with Google.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's going to be on Oppo to come up with AI services that they can sell on the device. Like they can just package with their products and they won't be able to sell the same kind of subscription that a Google One can bring. There is a really fun little AI thing on the OnePlus 12 I can't talk about. I can't show you, but is already, I think, an indication that we'll have to see if there's a long game for AI. But Galaxy immediately, I feel, is going to be the language learning model, translation, and transcription, at least for the first half of 2024. That's going to be the champ.
Yeah.
But everything else, like, I keep going, like, feature for feature for feature. I just don't see where starting this phone off, the S24 Plus at $999, when it's so iterative and it's so a recycle
Yeah.
of what the Plus has been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it's got a higher resolution screen. That's cool.
Oh no,
But like the rest of it is kind of like same
it's
old, same old.
it is still positioned as, I feel like, the one that most people, if they're going to go with the, I can't afford the most expensive model, but I want something that's pretty close to it. I think the Plus is definitely going to take it. The standard
Yeah.
model for me still feels like a stepping stone to the Plus. I don't feel like
Like a
but
pain
again,
point phone.
yeah, no,
It's like either you want the smallest possible phone you can get, or
absolutely. If it's
yeah,
not the size that's limiting you, you have to have the
then you
smallest
have
part,
to step up. Yeah.
then you'd automatically, the moment you see them, like you're like, wait, 4300 to 4900, I'm like, wait, that's a substantial amount of battery capacity, and it's
Yeah,
a
it
bigger
is.
display, and it's the same resolution as the big guy. I think it's easier to, like, I think it's an easier sell if they're trying to, obviously, if with any kind of salesperson sitting at a Best Buy or whatever carrier store. But I realize we've covered these series. We've
Yeah, we
covered a
kind of
lot of the
keep
things. Yeah,
keep
I
coming
think
back to it. Yeah.
we look. The S24 and series still has to prove itself. Right now, it's in the hands of the reviewers, such as myself and other people.
Sure.
But the reality, obviously, is when we start seeing real people get their devices, start using it. What is the public perception going to be? I think for me, out of the box, first things first, that circle to search thing. It's hard to say. Is going to be a big wow factor, and I think a lot of people are going to be selling it based on that, because it is such a simple thing to do, and it works,
Yeah.
and it never takes you out. I mean, the integration with Instagram, I think, is going to be great. I need to test that out a little bit
anytime
more.
we can turn a complicated search mechanic into a simpler gesture,
Especially image
is
search.
a
Image
win.
search has been the worst things, because you had to take the picture, you had to crop it, you had to take it and move
All
it
right,
into
here we
the
go.
lens.
Here we go. As we wrap all this up, Brian Glaze has the challenge for you. Say circle to search 10 times fast.
Oh my God. Okay.
You ready, TK? I'm going to count us off. Ready? Go.
Circle to search, 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 circle to search.
He went for 11. Oh, he nailed it.
I only said it like 5,000 times the last 2 days. Let's just say that. The amount of times I've talked to people about
so well.
I've been like, okay, so so just a little bit of a quick tip in there. If once you get your S24, if you do get an S24 series and you're using it and you're a part of the Google search beta program, unregister yourself right away. That barks the day, because this is a Google service.
Sense.
It requires the Google app, the Google search function. And if you are part of beta is always on slightly ahead of curve, and they're working on other things. So I learned that very quickly.
That would be in conflict,
Yeah. So I had to, first I was like, I turned it on and I tried, and I thought it was Nova Prime, because I was like, I run Nova on anything. I'm going to be very upfront about that. And it wasn't working. I could not circle to search anything. I went up to my wife and she's like, well, this is borked. And then I went back, I sat down, I'm like, what is it? I swipe it up and I'm like, oh, this is a Google app. That's right. I went into the Play Store and I'm like, oh crap.
Well, there's your problem.
So uncheck the beta, uninstall the latest update, re-updated it to the latest edition, and then bam, it works. And yes, I hope people get to use it, and it comes to more devices. I think more people will feel like this is real. Like this is an enjoyable experience on Android.
Yeah,
that I don't think Apple will be bringing anywhere near in the near future.
You know what? I like, and I'm gonna kind of crouch this in some of the conversations we've had with Qualcomm and MediaTek execs, and I know there's like a gamesmanship that happens with some of this stuff, but like, I got a very frank response from MediaTek executives like, Apple makes great chips. No one would deny that, A series processors aren't champs, but they're not on this AI curve like we are. They haven't been investing in the neural cores, and they don't put enough RAM in their devices to do much with Siri
they don't even tell us how much RAM they're putting in. Let's just say that much. It's not even
like there's another hot rumor like iPhone 16 might bump up RAM, and you're like, to what? You don't. They won't even. They're never going to tell you.
From
like, what is that?
What is it from and to? That's what I'd like to know.
I'd like to transition because I feel like we've about eclipsed what we can say about the OnePlus 12.
Yeah, I
But I
know.
would
Like
like
we're
to
getting.
just transition
Yeah,
from
please.
OnePlus 12 showing the back of the phone again because we are participating. OnePlus sent us some devices to review.
Thank you
They
very
are
much.
asking us to hold to an embargo on what we can and can't say or can and can't show.
Did I just break him? Nope. We're good.
I'm going to sneakily
Mhm.
circumvent part of this conversation to say, boy, I really like the OnePlus Open. I think it would be interesting if there was a OnePlus Open that didn't open and had brilliant cameras and a really nice screen and features like video output through the USB-C. I think that would be a compelling phone for a lot of consumers out there, roughly in the ballpark of an S24 Plus and an iPhone 15 Plus. I think a lot of people would enjoy having that as a competitive option in the marketplace, completely unrelated to the device that I'm holding in my hands right now.
I personally hope that your predictions come true.
I'm just saying it would be fun if.
If we were gonna make a Disney Plus What If episode in that alternate universe where Juan is the executive at me, no, I'm with you. Look, the reality of the matter is we're not that far from being able to have conversations and things to be able to hopefully come up. The biggest thing I'll probably say is this: stay tuned. It's exciting. We have the devices. And I am very excited to start talking about the 12. I'm very excited. I'm also very excited, obviously, to get my hands on with the S24 Ultra. I want to be able to start digging into a little bit more. Actually, running decks and so on. Like I did not have enough time because I came in last night late and I went to work today and then I came back home. So it's like time, space, continuum.
Time is messed up.
I need another version of me, but at just a different time. But I do want to talk
Don't we all?
I do want to talk a little bit more about the Vivo because I took the Vivo with me and I've been using it ever since I received it. And I need to kind of close up the review for it.
Oh man,
I
this
realized
thing
I
is such
did
a
not
monster.
do that. But there's a massive update that dropped today. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Vivo's been pushing. This is my 4th update on this device since I've gotten it.
It's been aggressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very different than the X90 Pro from last the X90 Pro from last year. That one did not
X90
get
Pro
as much
went on a long lull.
Yeah.
And then got some other feature improvements, and now I'm running the beta.
Yeah.
The beta has gotten almost no attention from Vivo. So it is Android 14. I think I just need to wipe it, scrub it, go back to the public
13.
releases again.
Yeah. Wait
and
till
see if I can get updates that way. But the X100 Pro is battling my Xiaomi 13 Ultra as a B camera in my studio.
It's for
And
me till I got the
macro performance on this telephoto sensor is astonishingly good. So I've shared a few photos up on Flickr and on Mastodon.
Yeah.
And this is like taking that again, we want to see phones sort of year over year improve.
Sorry,
and where the Oppo
I forgot to tweet about the show.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're doing fine. We got viewers and stuff. Hey, everybody, you're watching a podcast. The Find X6 Pro was a phenomenal step in the right direction for using your telesensor for better close-up photography. You've got a better operational distance. You're not right on top of your subject blocking
that
light.
3X is golden, man. Golden. Yeah,
it's great. What Vivo is doing here, the lens on this telesensor and its ability to resample at an equivalent 10 times zoom is shocking. I'm pulling like the tiny little, baby ants on flower pistils covered in pollen out with surprisingly good clarity at super macro style presentation, where it's not just a close-up shot, it really is starting to look like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 magnification from a proper macro lens on a mirrorless camera. Yeah. I am gobsmacked at how they have incorporated a lens like that in a phone body. I mean, it's a big camera bump, but that is a lot of optical magnification to be able to close focus on a lens at that focal length.
It's been crazy. No, I agree with you. My admiration for the X100 Pro has gone. It just kept going up and up and up. I mean, I had a little bit of hiccups at the beginning, but that was a software thing. But after that update, it's been such a pleasant. To top it off, full support 5G in here in the US for me on T-Mobile. Like, this is crazy that it actually, even with the radios that they have built into it, but camera performance, the camera setup at this point, it almost begs the question of what can they do to make it Pro Plus, other than going Qualcomm. You know what I mean? Like,
here's my guess. This is, again, Vivo has sent us some devices to review. We don't have any insight into what's going on at Vivo. I believe we'll get the newer stacked 1-inch type sensor.
Oh, the new. Yeah.
So the Pro Plus will be better in super, super dark conditions, which is already, I mean, like, I don't share photos of Lex, but we went to a science event tonight. And in the event, I'm just going to hold this up on my phone screen. I'm not going to do the, like, share the photo in the stream. But come on. So at the event, they had like this sensory universe room so that you could, like, it's cool, it's dark, there are like stars, and this animation is playing out on this projector screen that they had inflated. And this is in the auto mode, and this is at least a stop brighter, because it's almost pitch black except for the movie screen that they're projecting this universe on. So then I do a 3-second night mode scan in almost total blackout conditions, and that's what the phone was able to put out. I'm blowing it out on camera here. Let me reduce the brightness, because the screen is super bright. I don't know if you know this, but the Vivo X100 has like a 3000 nit display, so it's pretty bright.
I'm not good at math though. Is 3000 more or less than
but
26?
In almost whoops, I just dropped it. In almost total darkness, I'm counting the eyelashes from holding still for 3 seconds in conditions that, like, I would not have been able to achieve that on a Pixel 8 Pro. This thing is nothing crunches optical information like the co-processors on Vivos. So if we can get that stacked sensor, if they decide to go Qualcomm, that means we'll get the massive ultrasonic fingerprint sensor back.
I hope so.
But it's not going to be an upgrade for the CPU.
No.
The CPU performance is going to be a win for the MediaTek.
I feel like the configuration that we have right now, I need a little bit more time, but I do feel I'm with you. I feel like the 9300 at this point is, so for me, just to kind of circle back with the way you have it, for some weird reason, I've been covering CES for the last 3+ years now on Vivos. I've been using Vivos. This is like, it's weird to say this, like, oh, well, I'll just cover the event with it. No. It's been really running.
Oh, no.
X70 Pro Plus first. X80, I didn't get a hands-on on that one. I didn't get a chance to steal
it. And then X90.
I went straight to the X90, but the X70 Pro Plus I covered 2 years with. Then went to X90 Pro, and then, of course, now we have the X100 Pro. Vivo has been consistently improving and consistently polishing the experience. And I think the 9300 just took it to the next level in the way that it's able to process. I shot every single video that you see from me on the show floor, other than the talking head. Everything was done, B-roll side, was done straight on the Vivo X100 Pro. I was going to show you all the B-roll I have, but it was basically in my videos. You would not know that I did not take a single I did not use a DSLR. All of that B-roll shot, like, especially when I was getting, those, the hand movement, the tracking, that's the other thing. The tracking focus on Vivo in video has been crazy good. The moment I change subjects, it jumps straight to it. It changes focus for me exactly where I have it. Like, it's a center focus, obviously. So the moment I center it, it automatically catches the color, brightness, everything, show floor, all of that good stuff. So oh man, seriously, it is one of my heavy recommendations right now. I'm still very minor number of days with the Find X7 Ultra, and I want to be able to spend some more time with it as well. But I will say that while I was in San Jose, and I just like it's not going to even show that well here. So I was staying down in San Jose by the
the phone blew out my camera. So
like, no.
if you want, take a second and transfer it to a computer and screen share it. I just won't do that with a photo of Lex.
Well, no,
I can't tell you. Like, I have a crystal clear. The dome of her eye is in perfect focus.
Okay,
and I'm counting those eyelashes on a photo taken in total darkness of an 8-year-old who's like fidgeting around while she's sitting. Oh, that's gorgeous.
So
it's like it's a light tunnel.
It's a light tunnel that's and it's beating to music. So I can't play the audio here. I don't want to get us any little bit of trouble.
That's so cool.
So my hotel was right behind the San Jose College campus. So we were downtown, and that's where it was. And it was raining. I was walking around because I had to go pick up some dinner, and I saw the light tunnel, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is the craziest thing ever! Can I catch it? Does it make sense?" And I watched it. I'm like, "Oh." It was playing music, and the music was the light, the rings, that entire tunnel was beating to music. So like the pulsating, the vibrating, everything in there was just amazing. So I'll say that the experience so far, beginning 2024, Oppo and Vivo are not disappointing. I know OnePlus is not going to disappoint, but it is absolutely amazing. And I will say as well, Samsung's improvement with the telephoto lens, I think it's definitely a move in the right direction.
Yeah, they caught up to...
Samsung still produces consistently. For me, with the S24 Ultra, I haven't tested as much, but the 23 Ultra would perform very well.
I got to ask, does the medium telephoto still lie? It's a 10 megapixel sensor.
It is still the same.
When you push the button, does it put out a 12 megapixel shot? Does it make up 20% of the resolution, or does it put out a 10 megapixel image like the sensor should have?
We're about to do it live, so let's do this. Okay, we're going to do one picture.
But to kind of wrap up your point, though, if we do see the X100 Pro Plus, it'll get a boost in gaming performance, because I still feel Qualcomm is ahead for GPU, and especially for support and drivers. So the X100 Pro Plus will probably be a better machine for gaming. I think it's going to be a wash for photography, because they have a co-processor that they can bolt on to Qualcomm or MediaTek. But then I think it'll be a downgrade.
12. Yeah, it's still pushing out.
It still lies. I hate that so much. It bugged me on the Pixel Fold. The Pixel Fold does that really bad. The Pixel Fold can sometimes make up as much as 50% of the resolution on the telephoto, depending on how you're cropping. But it still bugs me that Samsung does this. It's a 10 megapixel camera, but it's got a 12 megapixel output. That means it's technically not able to shoot real 4K at the aspect ratio, at the full width resolution of the sensor.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, it's weird.
Again, I don't understand why Samsung is going to cheap out on a smaller, lower resolution, medium telephoto sensor, and then just make up data. Just put out a 10 megapixel image. That's fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. So on the 3X, it's still using a 10, producing a 12, but on the 5X,
it doesn't make any sense to me.
Been down to 12.
No, the 5X is exactly what we wanted, because we've already had that on Pixels and Xiaomi's, and that's great. I love it. Awesome.
I know.
I feel they could probably have gotten rid of. Excuse me, they probably could have gotten rid of the 3X entirely.
I think the reality is, maybe do a 2X, and then jump to 5. I think that would have made more sense than the 3.
Well, that's Pixel 8 Pro and Vivo X100 is
everybody's
it's really good. I like the 50 megapixel
till you get to the granddaddy of telephotos, where Oppo says, "Hold my beer, my friend," because
correct.
That's how we do it. Yes.
That's the big boy. It's got big boy.
I had a whole bunch of people hold the phone. They're like, "Oh my God, that thing." I'm like, "Yes, but it's justified. It's there for a purpose. It does exactly what it's intended. It's a camera first with a phone attached to it. Let's move on. Let's not talk about how
keep making and the sensors are so much bigger, but people keep making fun of my Xiaomi 13 Ultra, where I'm purposely putting on like a beefy lens cap to protect the, the back. Yes,
look,
it's correct.
Photography, mobile photography has come so far. It is enjoyable. It is fun. It's creative and it's inspiring. This is the thing. When a device comes into your hands and you aspire to be able to create with it, that's the right feel. That's the right moment that you want to be able to, you're like, okay, look, this makes sense for me. And I'm not going to lie. I have a table right now stacked with a lot of inspiration, and I literally just need 2 or 3 of me to be able to get that inspiration on camera. But otherwise, it's a lot. There's a lot of work. And like I said, January used to be this like, okay, we got CES.
Well, we were all prepping for MWC, and now it's like MWC came in November.
So like I'm wondering,
like we got ahead of the curve.
So now I'm wondering, like, so by the time we get to MWC at the end of February, right? Because I don't think MWC is moving. I mean, what are we gonna get? Is it just all of the announcement that we just got showcased?
I think Simon Says Hypno is absolutely correct. If you are inclined to try new things on your phone, Simon says we live in a glorious age for phones. Yeah. We've been having this conversation for a while. If you pick up a new phone and do the exact same things you did on your old phone, you're going to be in for a bad time. You'll have spent a lot of money. It'll be a lot of headaches. Transferring all your stuff is still not a seamless procedure. It's not fun. But if you pick up one of these new phones and you try taking a closer picture of a flower, you will immediately see how wonderful all of these improvements year over year, from an X90 Pro to an X100 Pro, from a OnePlus 11 to a OnePlus 12, from the mediocre telephoto on a Galaxy to the really big sensor telephoto on an S24 Ultra. 1 year differences. And I can already point to things that are tangible, humongous, and noticeable improvements in consumer photography, now pushing our phones to like real professional grade results, not marketing professional grade results. That to me is it's an exciting development to see. I just wish we were empowering people to experiment, to really go out and try these things and to give this stuff a shot. Sorry, I interrupted where you were going with that because of what Simon just said, but kind of putting all of those pieces and all of those parts together. Right now, we're also kind of in an interesting price race too, because this Vivo is also kind of circling the S24 Plus price, and that is a much harder fight, in my opinion. If you tell me you care about a photography experience, I believe that there's going to be a good close battle between the S24 Ultra and the X100 Pro, but that means I'm giving Samsung a roughly $300 price curve in their favor, when really the MSRP fight is S24 Plus against X100 Pro, and I don't see any way an S24 Plus is going to beat out an X100 Pro right now.
No, especially with where the Plus did get a lot of updates in the sense of how it's being shaped. Charging speed is up to 45. The larger battery. No. I'm
sorry.
with you.
The X100 Pro charges at 120 watts and charges wirelessly at 50. I know. You're giving Samsung kudos because they have made the phone better. They've made the phone better, and it's a third as good
it is
for the same price. And they don't include the charger in the box.
No, there is no charger in the box. There is no case in the box, and there is there's a lot to be said internationally where we do have a lot. It is much more of a cutthroat experience internationally where there is so much more competition. And I think where we are right now with the Vivo is it is so good that it's so easy to step into that it's hard to not recommend it. This is where it's hard for me to say like, well, no, there is no well. This is like it's a yes. It's a yes. If you should I get the X100 Pro? Yes, and go, because what we're getting there is,
you care about photography,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but
Yeah, it's
even
good.
even computing, even charging
Yeah.
speed,
Oh, for sure.
video output, display technology, all of the things that Vivo put in the X100 Pro, even with the SoC that we have with the 9300, MediaTek is again knocking it out of the park. But even more so with the architecture that we have, where we have no low performance cores. I think the biggest thing that I'll
Yeah.
say is I did not. I was just super surprised because of what we saw at the event. It was so topical. It
Mhm.
was just mostly design on the back, and we didn't get a chance to play with. I would have loved to be able to do some of these things there. But what I will say is Samsung is showing minor improvement. This is a year over year improvement as we've seen before. The S24 Plus is definitely getting a little bit more love. The S24 Ultra is definitely getting a lot of the experience there. But yes, the price is reflecting a trend, as you were kind of alluding to. We're starting to see things kind of creep up on the pricing again, where we,
Yeah.
for some reason, a few years in the past, we had where we were able to say, oh, well, like 650,
Oh,
700 or
it's a
stuff like that.
compromise, but they shaved $200 off the price. So I guess that's okay if we're looking for balance. And we did that last year with OnePlus.
No,
I
exactly.
was personally a little disappointed we didn't get a OnePlus Pro last year. We only got the OnePlus 11. And the
So,
OnePlus 11 was nice, but it
yeah.
was not a pro tier phone and it wasn't priced like a pro tier phone. An S24 Plus at $999 is a very bold statement to put out there as to where they feel this phone fits
And
in
we're
the
going to have to
market.
see. Yeah, we're going to have to see how the market reacts to it. And hopefully within the next few months or so, we'll be able to see sales and, well, the sale numbers, not sales. But yeah, no, Vivo's knocking it out of the park. Oppo's knocking it out of the park. I'm very confident that I'll say that OnePlus has been doing, and it will continue to do the year-over-year improvements in their technologies, in their camera stack, and as
Mhm.
well as the camera science. I mean, they're still working with Hasselblad. I mean, obviously we have them. There's the big
I feel
Hasselblad
like
logo
this
on the
is
back there.
a lot of our brethren have made these sort of flippant remarks about camera collaborations.
Hmm.
And I can't point to a single one that has not improved the smartphone manufacturer.
Yeah,
With Huawei and
Leica.
then to,
Oh yeah,
I mean, I was sitting here and picking up, Windows phones back in the day. And who is this? Oh, Carl Zeiss. Carl Zeiss on the Lumia 920. There's this whole like little badge. That's interesting.
Zeiss. Do you
Anytime,
spell that Zeiss?
that's correct.
Ooh,
That Zeiss.
that's
Yeah.
Zeiss.
And
Like this
if you
Zeiss.
have that like this Zeiss, oh,
Like
that's
this Zeiss.
interesting. Huh,
Hey,
that's funny.
that's how
But
we do it.
we saw a lot of shrugging, and of
Mhm.
course, in the first year of the collaboration with OnePlus and Hasselblad, I don't think it was revolutionary. But
No, no,
what OnePlus has done is matured as a camera or a photography solution, and now they have their own unique look. A OnePlus photo, or I should say, an Oppo photo,
Mhm.
has its own kind of unique feel to it. Samsung used to have a camera division, and I really wish that they had kept the NX line.
I know you were actually one of the few that I knew that had an NX
I
camera.
loved those NX cameras. It broke my heart. I was actually just talking to someone on Threads about it. Like, oh, what projects has Samsung ever killed? And we were like, well, and then he immediately flipped the script. It was like, oh, you're right. Oh, that broke my heart. I used to have an NX camera and I had a holster for it and all these lenses. And you're like, yeah, this sucked. Now, granted, Google kills way more projects, but let's not pretend that
Yes.
like
No,
Samsung doesn't have their own little graveyard going too.
yeah.
But again, sidetracked there. What OnePlus has done with Hasselblad has,
Mhm.
I think, consistently improved year over year over year.
Yeah.
And now we've got a competitive offering. Sony, they are a camera company that makes a phone.
Oh.
They have a unique color science and look to their post processing.
Oh, yeah.
Leica has helped so much in kind of refining Xiaomi's look after they stopped partnering with
I
Huawei.
feel like Leica's been like of all the collaboration, I feel like that one's been doing the most because
Yeah, big time.
Xiaomi and Leica are like in bed at this point, right?
Huge.
Like this is literally like they're symbiotic at some point there because they're bringing in the engineers to shape the experience.
Oh yeah.
But no, absolutely. Not one collab has gone with the this was just the sticker.
If
Yeah,
you remember BlackBerry, Priv, Schneider lenses. That Priv,
oh
the
my God.
camera
I remember the
was
Priv. That was one of my favorite devices.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that the Snapdragon 810 cooked that phone so bad.
Oh my god.
Ghost Starscream is saying Galaxy K Zoom. Unfortunately, it's technically not a K Zoom, but I do have what did we call it here in the States? I forget.
It's the S5. It was the S5 series, right? Wasn't it?
Was it called the S5 Zoom? Was that what we called it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still have mine. This actually still boots. I can't get the battery out of the case because the battery has puffed.
I was about to ask.
Stuck in here.
So when you were talking about going through and looking at all these devices, how many puffy marshmallows did you find? Because that's
So hilariously, I found 3 more Samsungs that are now all just e-waste. I can't. I had to get rid of my S6. All of my actives are dead. And it's older, like S3 and S4 era Samsungs are basically ticking time bombs. So S4 Zoom. It wasn't the S5. It was the S4 Zoom. You guys are right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Farhan and Gerardino.
I knew it was the S series. I knew it was around the 5 because the 5 active and all the different variations.
Yeah.
I think the 5 was the last series that they had the active.
So they
there.
did a lot of those S3 lights and S4 lights, but the S4 Zoom is, I believe, an S4 light with a big old camera stuck on the back. So I have not gone through my HTC box yet, and I'm worried that we're probably going to have some dead phones there. But surprisingly, of all the companies that were the worst, that were the worst about like the fruity boot loops, all of my LGs are bangers. The LG G5, dead as a doornail. That's the one that failed on me. But I've got 2 G4s and a V10 and a Flex, and they're all great.
But the G5 had a removable battery, dude. That was the whole part of LG with friends.
Well, yeah, but
I know. I kid. I was with you. I was with you in Barcelona for the G5 launch.
That phone was pretty gross. Out of all of them, that's the one that I feel like, oh, this was not a very well put together concept on LG's part. That G5 is
the camera grip was it felt like you had to kind of like pop in, hold the whole bottom comes off. I have to put on either way. Yes. I will say, dude, hey man, look at it this way. My first Nexus still has a non-puffed battery. The battery itself is removable, and it's sitting there. And I was like I can charge it up, and I think I can put a SIM card in there and make it work. It even had an SD card slot. Look, Google used to do that back in the day. A headphone jack for all purposes, and of course like a 480p, maybe I don't know, like something even lower resolution.
It's so
and a trackpad. It had a trackpad.
It's just so
bring
great.
The trackpad
back in the day when I think Google really thought their chief competition was going to be BlackBerry.
Yeah, I know they were competing. Absolutely,
so nice.
You could see the. I mean, I'll take that. I went from a Priv to the first Nexus. That was my first official transition over to that, because prior to that, what I was doing is to play with Android. I would do a dual boot on Windows Mobile and boot Android off of the SD card. So you basically boot into Android out of Windows, and that was the only way to do it. And then after that, that convinced me to buy it. Actually, back then, Google was putting out commercials. There were actually commercials for the original Nexus. But yeah, no, I digress. It's been a crazy week, and of course, the most amazing news, obviously, that come out the entire week that overshadowed the entire event was the fact. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to mention Apple. I was like, it was just such like.
I don't like feeling. I don't like being the guy who's wishing for a company to fail.
No,
and I need to preface that because I don't believe this is unique to Apple. But when we're talking about Vision Pro, and Vision Pro, like the messaging around it is already pivoting hard. There was another article that just went out today like, oh no, Apple is really talking about other business initiatives and medical research. And that's where Vision Pro is really going to, like, they're already trying to walk away from the claims and the promise of consumer-facing AR. They're already trying to do the HoloLens play, where HoloLens 1, eventually this is going to be something everyone will wear on their face. And then HoloLens 2, oh no, we meant military and industrial applications, not consumers. Oh no, perish the thought. And the device isn't even out yet, and they're already changing up some of their marketing and messaging on what this thing is really gonna be. So I kind of feel VR in general, I feel it needs to fail in the market in a big way and kind of do the same thing that 3D printers have done. Go back to the enthusiast space, go back to the hardcore nerds that love to tinker with this stuff, and just let it ride there for another generation or two, another iteration, until we can get some better platforms rebuilt around this idea. Because I think we're pushing it too hard to consumers, and you pick it up, you put it on, you have a novel experience, and then you're like, but what else do I do with it? You don't live in this stuff. So is this like an Xbox that I wear on my face? What is it? And I don't think we've cracked that nut. I don't think we've figured out how to bring consumers into that fold.
It's still, yeah, it's somewhat still the Wild West of conversations going around that. I mean, I got a chance to play with the X2 from TCL, and yes, light years ahead of what we had before. But I didn't spend enough time with it to be able to get a true understanding of, usability. I mean,
for sure.
Obviously, when we were joking last week, we were talking with Trish, and he's like, I was wearing my dad's glasses and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it still looked the same on me. It looked like I was wearing my dad's glasses too, and I'm a lot taller. I mean, not saying like massive, but
who was it that brought up that Bart Simpson? There's that one episode where Bart Simpson has to like hang out with all the nerds.
Yeah, I know.
And he needed like help with his vision, so they gave him these like clunky old glasses, and the arms of the glasses stick out past the back of his head, just exactly like they looked like on your face.
What I will say though is I think the design needs to still. This is where the biggest challenge. I think most companies right now are still mostly focusing on how do we get the tech to work. And once we get that function done and the software matching it, we'll start working on the form factor. Because when we start seeing what what Meta was doing with their glasses, I got a chance to finally stop by a Meta store in San Jose, and nice. I put the glasses on. They're still a little bit, they're still chunkier than your normal glasses, but they're slimmer than what we've seen in the past.
Big time.
And having played with the X2 the week before, I'm like, this is much smaller and it's able to record that good of a video. But I wish I had the the ability of having kind of augmented experience, or XR experience. X2's doing it really well. I love their implementation with the software, with the navigation function, the translation, all of that. The software needs to get polished. I think the hardware is capable of doing it. But till they fix that part, till they get it to the production level where it's really available, we'll have to see.
This is why I kind of feel... This is why I say things, and it's, again, I'm not wishing ill on these companies.
No. We want.
I am genuinely antagonistic of Apple's executive leadership and their marketing division and how divisive they are in the tech conversation. I believe Apple engineers are some of the most incredibly passionate and forward-thinking individuals on the planet, and I feel that there's a conflict in their products between the people on the ground who are really working at making this tech cool and the executives who are trying to position it and sell it and make money off of it. But I genuinely do feel those issues that you're describing, the polish, the presentation, how do you get people interacting with these new methods of user interaction and organization and conveyance, I don't feel we can answer those questions at any kind of scale until we've spent a little bit more time kind of stumbling and failing our way through metaphors that don't work. I don't believe the metaphor of bringing up an iPad and typing on a floating software keyboard is where we should be going with the future of VR. So I feel like Vision Pro is already failing at moving us forward in mixed reality. That's an old metaphor. The desktop environment is an old metaphor for interacting with data and services that doesn't work in a pinnable three-dimensional space. We need to literally think different, and that's not the Apple we have today. The Apple we have today is giving us a way to float an iPad in space in front of us. That's $3,500. I can hold up an iPad. I don't need to float it. I can set up a tablet stand, and it's the same.
I'm with you.
I'm grossly oversimplifying what a Vision Pro is. But that metaphor needs to be addressed before we can move on and really share this stuff with consumers, and we can't do that until we get a bunch of nerds who are willing to do the geeky, nerdy things to live in this stuff
Well, I mean,
and move it
especially
forward.
when you have like the Quest 3, when you have
Yeah.
other solutions that have like, okay, the reason why I'm
Even
mentioning
the
specifically,
HTC.
even
Yeah.
HTC, but like more specifically the Quest 3, the pass-through mode on the Quest 3 is like night and day from what we had in the first 2 generations of the Quest.
For
It
sure.
is lifelike. You can walk. There is no latency. The refresh rate is so high. It is something
Mhm.
that we have at around $500.
Yeah, and it's just going to lose out in a resolution fight. Sure.
No, absolutely. But what
But
I'm
in a
trying to say is,
functionality fight, it is a
well, no,
remarkably good
even
representation of what it's accomplishing.
my thought behind it, having a Quest 3 and using a Quest 3 is that I am never going to put those goggles on and walk around the house and do things around the house with the goggles. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
Okay, let's be realistic
sure.
with the fact it is not a form factor that sits on your face forever. I understand that there's a lot of things being done on Apple's side to make it more comfortable, ventilations, all of that good stuff. Absolutely,
Yeah, for sure.
Are you still going to have a helmet head? Yes. Are you still going to have rings
Yep.
around your face? Yes.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you just. So we'll have to basically see. Obviously, I was gesturally kind of mentioning them because as with every event that was going on in the last couple of weeks, Apple just coincidentally releases a little bit more information about their product. It's to me, and then of course everybody basically makes it sound like they just broke the internet. I'm like, come on. Either way.
Well,
either
and I
way.
think now Apple is getting anxious because for 12 years we've been hearing about how the future of AR and the future of VR can only be saved by Apple. And that has never been true. Apple has never delivered on any promise of VR or AR. And to Apple's credit, Apple isn't the one making these claims.
Mhm.
This is a tech industry that has turned Apple AR into the low-hanging fruit of rumors and leaks and is constantly promising a sci-fi future that Apple cannot deliver. No one can. This is no fault of Apple engineers, but we needed Apple executives to get ahead of this conversation and really say, like, this is a strategy. This is what we're working towards. This is what we hope people will do. You can't do that with any confidence or with any credibility if you're carefully manicuring user interactions with 9 influencers that you've hand selected to tell a very specific story as you're going after media to say, you can't call it a mixed reality headset, it's Vision Pro. You can't call it the Vision Pro, it's Vision Pro. And also doing the same thing to their developers.
I love
when
the hand
Netflix
gesture. Vision Pro.
Yeah, Vision Pro. Like, so it's the opposite of Apple Silicon. It's Vision Pro. If you were watching the video of this, that was a really funny joke that I just did. But at the same time, are we shocked that Netflix and YouTube and Spotify are saying, nah, we're good. We're not going to make unique experiences for Vision Pro. You can watch Netflix in a browser, and you can pin a browser
I was
where
about
you
to
want.
say, yeah, exactly.
And that's fine.
Well, because
That's fine.
they don't really need
There's
to
no trust.
make their product better by giving them access. No, I get it.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I mean, again,
Simon says, Hypno, 12 years of hype. What could possibly go wrong?
absolutely nothing, Simon.
And Simon, to that point, I actually do really sympathize. I feel really bad for Apple engineers because I think what they've made is a very interesting mixed reality headset dev kit. It's a developer kit.
It is.
I am upset on their behalf because we have a media industry that hypes and overpromotes Apple in a completely unfair and unbalanced way, highlighting them above every other competitor, and they depend on that for their clicks and their views to monetize their traffic, and they've actually put those Apple engineers into a completely unwinnable scenario.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. We've built the anticipation and the hype so high on what that is. That is
Nothing.
done.
It's Duke Nukem forever.
But
there's no way that we would satisfy that.
Right now, everything that you can see on their website, and I don't want to, actually, we'll take a step back. Look, Vision Pro, wherever it lands, is in for a race. It's in for a race to meet its own expectations that people are setting for it. But the reality, you said the gem there, it is a dev kit. It was never intended to be public release for everybody to go use. And this is the weirdest part of the conversation. The conversation around it is going to be treating it as if this is a public release of a device. Dev kits are typically expensive because they are not intended to be consumed by everybody. It's intended to be, for developers to purchase and test out and build their apps and their experiences around the hardware. Hopefully, for a smaller, maybe second generation of the Vision Pro or whatever ends up being the one that does go public, something more accessible to the public. $3,500 for what we're getting right now, at least for what we've been what we've seen, is a very high price. And I think this is where we need more time with it. Not we, but like I meant the actual product needs to come out and Apple needs to figure out how to make it happen.
And also, I do want to credit, it is Apple engineering that can help kickstart other companies' interest. I don't feel that there's going to be any significant traction on Google and Samsung strategy because both of those companies have dabbled with VR and then walked out. So there is no developer confidence there. I would not invest a lot of time in a Samsung or Google VR strategy until I saw 3 years of consistent iteration and promises to support for at least 5 years beyond that. There's no way. We had Daydream and Odyssey and Gear VR, and all these companies have played and promised us that VR could be something cool, and then they've all walked out of the space. But if Apple can cycle 100,000 Vision Pros, and Sony can get their yield up on those 4K micro OLEDs, I have a lot of confidence in Valve coming back and doing an Index 2 at higher fidelity and higher visual quality. And you probably would need to plug it into an RTX 4090 to really get the best out of this headset. But at the premium tier, Valve I would trust. HTC I would also trust. And I don't trust Facebook, but the Quest team has been putting out some banger hardware. So by this time next year, if we're seeing those 4K micro OLEDs start to improve yield, then we could see all of this resolution advantage in all these other products. Vision Pro would have helped us kick that off. Vision Pro would at least be credited with saying they got there first, they got the deal with Sony, they got Sony to make this part, and now we all get to benefit from that. That would be a net positive from Apple's influence.
I hope so. And I hope that is the conversation that we see in the future. But with that being said, I'm realizing we're getting close to our beautiful time of the day.
I know, for our 90-minute podcast.
Absolutely. Hey, man, it's 90 minutes. It's like the TK and Juan 90-minute-ish.
Sure. What do you got coming up? I know we've got shorts, right? You've got a lot of S24 Ultra to talk about.
So yeah, pretty much what's going to happen for me for the next couple of days. I'm starting to shape. I'm going to start recording content and publishing. But I think within today and tomorrow, I'm going to finish up I have at least 3, maybe 4 more shorts that are going to be posting them. And I did this on purpose as I was shooting my hands on. I shot my hands on specifically in a manner where I'm able to double purpose it. And I will say this: I credit Trish for the recommendation.
Yes. It was such a great tip.
It was
the second she said it, I was like, of course, that makes so much sense.
But it makes sense. You know, like duh. How did this not make sense?
Right.
So yeah, no. All my content was shot in 60:9, but it was slightly pulled out. And then of course, the moment I can just punch into it, I can make 2 different versions from the same video. And again, in due fashion, I think the response has been better. Obviously, people are excited. They want to see some of those features. So that's pretty much going to be for the next couple of days. I want to finish up my Vivo X100 Pro. I'm hoping to push that out by the end of the weekend, if not maybe early next week, just to kind of get that out, because I really feel like I need to share my experience and why I love this device. Like why do I spend time with it? The X90 Pro had the exact same amount of love, but it ended up being me using it so much that I didn't get a chance to review it.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest regret that I had with it. And I don't want to do that again this year with the 100. I did put out a video on day 1, but that was, again, plagued with certain things. It is a beast of a device. It is a beast of a collaboration. And that's primarily what I'm shooting for the next couple of days. And of course, more Samsung stuff leading up to, people getting their hands on with their devices and so on.
For sure.
Just kind of sharing the experience there. How are things going with you? I think you mentioned.
I'm all over the place. So I finally got to this is a little DAC, the Shanling UA4. That video just went live public today. It was early access on the Patreon. Tomorrow, I don't think it's even going to be early access. I'm finally getting that All Powers battery
Video.
review out. So that I think is just I'm just gonna put it out both Patreon and on public YouTube at the same time. And I shot like 5 videos today just trying to find a format for a shorter editorial style, talking about foldables, talking about the Pixel 8, some of the performance issues we've been talking about with the Pixel 8, and some of the concerns that we see moving forward, the Vivo X100 Pro. Like, I have spent so much time using the X100 Pro to shoot other content. I have not finished reviewing it.
Yeah,
I'm falling into the same trap. So I'm trying to shake up because like I spend so much time. One more small quick tangent. Our buddy Scott Peachy has been on again and off again on his own channel. Technically speaking, they're taking another little break from their own live streams because the burnout is real. And we're finding a lot of these content creators, especially in more creative endeavor, who are scaling back and saying like, hey, this YouTube thing isn't what we thought it would be, and it's not sustainable anymore. And so we've been having some of these conversations just talking about like, how do you adapt to a change when it's not really your audience saying you need to change, it's the platform prioritizing your content or ignoring it. So when we have these conversations with our audience, we seem to have a great time with our audience. But then Google says, oh no, we're going to prioritize this instead. So we're going to separate you from your audience. And that has such a huge psychological toll on like the performance anxiety. If you put me out on a stage in front of thousands of people, I can get out there, I can riff, I can host. I've hosted award shows, I've hosted live TV. I'm game, let's do it. And yet now I'm in my safe little office and I'm setting up a camera and I've got like the worst stage fright. Is this video going to hit? Am I going to get my metrics? Or what are my analytics going to be? Is this too late to talk about a Vivo X100 Pro, which has only just been released like weeks ago? No, and I'm like actually feeling the pressure where I've never been a stage fright kind of guy. I've been a go balls to the wall, let me get out on stage kind of guy. So I am actively looking at how do I make this conversation more about the things I'm passionate about, the things I love, the things that I feel people would want to see and share, and ignoring all of the YouTube BS and baggage that goes with it, knowing my views are probably going to drop, and I'm not going to give it a poop about my thumbnails and doing all of my proper SEO stuff, but I got to get back to the techie who just loved talking about what the tech did.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Do it for the fun of it. Don't do it for the numbers. Yeah, absolutely.
So that was, but again, also with the financial pressure of like, this is a component of how I pay my mortgage. So I do kind of need to care, but I can't, like, I'm killing myself if I'm just trying to work for Google's algorithm. So short story, incredibly long, and we're already running really, really, really late on this. That is going to be part of the change moving forward is punchier, shorter. I'm looking at quicker comparisons and feature highlights and things like that. And especially when we get into next week and maybe there's some news from one of these companies that we've been talking about a lot tonight, which I'm sure everyone in our chat and anyone who's catching the replay already knows what we're talking about. Those kinds of videos are going to be on the horizon. That's where I feel I'm going to be more effective this year.
Exactly. No, and I'm with you. And I think those are going to be good conversations for sure. And with that being said, please, for everybody watching us, thank you very much for hanging out with us today. We had a really good response. I appreciate your help and support. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you can. Of course, there's going to be an audio version of the podcast. Should be hopefully up within the next 24 hours, available on your favorite podcasting application, or even a link in the description will help you guys get there. A lot of stuff happened this week, and there's going to be way more stuff coming up next week. So please sit tight, enjoy. And of course, make sure to catch Juan on Monday on the SGGQA show podcast that goes at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And of course, we'll be back. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Best of Our Week.